Aboriginal researcher who is here today, Susan Ingram, made the point in her article last month that, I quote, "In the 70s, some female Aboriginal leaders decided that standing as a people was far more important than signing up for the mainstream feminist agenda. 40 years later, Aboriginal women still face pressure to prioritise racial solidarity, to act as solidarity stewardesses, serving a sophisticated silencing agenda, rather than speak up about domestic abuse within their own communities." Unquote. We have recently been made aware of Marlene Cummins' story and her experience in the Aboriginal Black Panther Party. She believed she had to sacrifice her rights as a woman for the greater good of a movement she felt would benefit all Aboriginal people. So she remained silent when she suffered sexual and physical abuse at the hands of Aboriginal men. Unfortunately, within Aboriginal Australia, the remnants of the ideology to stand in solidarity with your people and to remain silent on internal abuse is still deeply ingrained. It exists within communities where men regarded as elders have been known to abuse their power by perpetrating physical and sexual violence, while their family and their close circles support them. In fact, often they will support them to the point where they will even appear alongside the perpetrator in court to intimidate and threaten the victims and the victims' female supporters. And we see this happen even in cases where there is proven to have been years of sexual abuse of a child. Everybody in this country must condemn this kind of vile behaviour. It must not be tolerated. These abhorrent acts of blatantly threatening behaviour toward a young victim and her female supporters are examples of exactly what Aboriginal women and children are hard up against. Would we sit back and allow the supporters of the Catholic Church to behave this way toward victims of child sexual abuse by men of the cloth? No. We actively and openly condemn these acts without fear of the politically correct labelling us and without fear of the families and supporters of the Church threatening us with violent retaliation. And no more can we silence our fellow non-Aboriginal Australians who stand by us on the issue despite calls for their silence simply because they are not Aboriginal. The concern for Aboriginal women and children should be everyone's concern. And we as a country should be able to address this issue. Because only when we take full responsibility can we bring about solutions to this epidemic. We cannot solve these problems alone, and the women and the children who are the most marginalised in this country need all the support they can get. Before I finish, I would like to add that I've been placed under immense pressure to withhold some of what I've spoken about today. What I have shared may put my immediate family at risk of retaliation of violence and the possibility that employment opportunities may be impacted. Some close to me have also expressed their concerns. But why am I standing here if not to hold us all to account for the lack of responsibility, action and justice for these Aboriginal women and children and the thousands of victims of family violence and sexual abuse? Why am I standing here if not to prevent yet another funeral of a family member victim of homicide? The NT's local newspapers on a weekly basis are riddled with stories of family violence and homicide, and I become part of the problem if I do not speak out. I have found, however, that as I stand in defiance of years of violence and silence, I continue to gain the support of Aboriginal men in my family, in my community and across this country who understand that family violence is wrong. I am witnessing more Aboriginal women come forward and breaking their silence, knowing they have the support to do so. So I call upon the federal, state and territory governments to take this matter more seriously, to ensure the safety of Aboriginal women and children by upholding their human rights.